Today I'm going to be discussing and doing a short overview and review of the Ditto Looper pedal by TC Electronics. I'm going to go over some of my likes and dislikes, some of the features, and later in the video I'll let you see/hear the pedal in action to give you a better idea of how it works. This pedal has been on the market for quite a few years, and recently TC Electronics came out with the Ditto Plus, which costs a little bit more than this. The price of this has dropped since they came out with the Ditto Plus. Now the Ditto Plus has some extra features, and you could research those features to see if it's something that interests you and to see if it's worth the extra money. But these have come down in price, so if you've been on the fence, this review may help you to come to a decision as to whether or not you want to buy the Ditto. So what is this pedal used for? Probably a silly question. If you're watching this video, chances are you know what a loop pedal does. But just a quick review, a loop pedal allows you to play a pattern or a chord progression and then have it repeat, which frees you up so that you can play over the pattern that you've already created and accompany yourself. It could be very handy for practicing soloing over chord changes, where you can set the chord change and then you can practice soloing on top of it. It's also helpful for writing and composing. I use it in live settings where you're on a solo, let's say a solo acoustic gig, and you want to set a chord change so that you can solo over it and accompany yourself. It allows you to do that and build larger textures of sound. I mean, there are countless ways to use a loop pedal, way more than we can cover here, but that just give you a brief idea of some of the things you can do with a loop pedal like the TC Electronic Ditto. So right off the bat, there are things that you'll notice about this pedal. First of all, it is really small. I mean, look at it next to my hand. It's just very, very compact. So it could easily fit in your pedal board or on the floor next to you at a gig. I play a lot of solo acoustic gigs, like I said, at restaurants, lounges, bars, and believe me, floor space is usually pretty limited. So I do appreciate the small footprint of this when I know I'm heading to a venue that's going to be tight. Have a look at it. I mean, it's just really, really small. You see just how compact it is. It's also built really, really well. It feels very solid. The button, it's not loose or jiggly. The volume knob is large, it's smooth, doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart, okay? Has a true bypass, which means when your signal is just running through it and the pedal's not activated, it won't affect the sound in a negative way. Just a couple other notes. That's where the power adapter would hook up, and that is for USB, where you could do firmware updates to the pedal on TC Electronics website. I just love that the features on this are very, very simple and no nonsense. That's a big plus. Let me grab a guitar and an amp. Let's see how it works. Let's go over some of the features and show you how you can build loops with this. As you can see, I'm set up here with my trusty Telecaster and my amp, and I think I have a good passage that we can test how this pedal functions and see what it sounds like. Here, we just made our first loop. Now I'm free to play over this however I'd like. And I could leave it at that if I want. But let's say I want to take a new part and layer it on top of this loop. I simply punch myself in again. In. Out. It added that to my current loop. And you could do this as many times as you want. I could punch in another loop on top of this. But let's say I made a mistake and I don't want the last loop that I recorded. How do I erase it without touching the original loop? Well, let's listen back. If I want to erase that part, I simply hold down the pedal and until the light blinks fast and it will undo the last take. Check it out. And that last part is now gone. Now to stop the loop, I have to double click. Double clicking stops the loop. If I want to start it back up again, I click it back on, and I can punch in and add another layer if I choose. Double click to stop. It's a little bit awkward and somewhat difficult to lock in at a performance when you have to double click to stop. It would be better to me if it had a dedicated stop button. I'll talk a little bit about that later in the video. Finally, to erase all of the loops, you just hold down the button. The light is now off, indicating that there are no loops currently recorded, and I could start all over again. So that's really all there is to using this pedal. As you can see, it's really quite simple. The sound is pretty true. I think the volume maybe drops down a little bit when you set up a loop, despite where the volume knob is, but that could be just me. Now for the cons, and they really are few, and they are nitpicking. For example, I think it would be great if, in a perfect world, if you could run this on a battery. This way you wouldn't have to account for a power adapter when you're at a gig. But it's nitpicking because then I don't think they would be able to give you such a small size. I don't think a 9-volt battery would even be able to fit in this along with all of the electronics. So in a perfect world, we would be able to run this on a battery. My other big con for this pedal, and that goes for all of the small one-channel loopers, is that you have to double click to stop a loop, and that is not convenient in a live setting. You can't really time out the stop perfectly and stop on a dime. That's why I usually use my Ditto X4, which has a dedicated stop button. As you can see, the Ditto X4 is way larger than this. But if you have the floor space, the dedicated stop button comes in handy. I hope this video gave you a little more insight to this product, and perhaps it'll help you decide if you want to buy this looper and save yourself some money over the Ditto Plus. Research those extra features though on the Ditto Plus. If you don't think you need them, then this version might be perfect for you. Please like and subscribe. It will really help me build this channel so that I can provide you with more lessons, reviews, tips, and performances. Thanks so much. Have a great one.